If you're thinking about moving to Chaffee County, you've probably already run into this question: Salida or Buena Vista? And on paper, they seem pretty similar. They're only about 25 minutes apart, and both are mountain towns. Both have insanely beautiful views of the mountains. Both have access to the Arkansas River. They each have their own surf waves, but the feel of these two towns is totally different. So today I wanted to talk about that a little bit with you, and how choosing the wrong one for your lifestyle can honestly make or break your experience living in Chaffee County. This episode should help you understand a little bit more about the vibe, the lifestyle, the real estate, the pros and cons, and which one actually makes the most sense for you. So get ready. My name is Jessica Cheriton, and I am a Chaffee County real estate expert and real estate agent. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, this is where I talk about what it's really like to live here, move here, buy, sell, or invest in Salida, Buena Vista, Poncha Springs, Nathrop, and really all along the Highway 50 corridor. This is one of the most common questions and conversations that I have with buyers, because if they're not familiar or not from the area, they don't really know like the slight nuances between Salida and Buena Vista. So here we go. At a high level, here's how I often explain it to people so that they can get the picture. Salida is definitely more established. It has kind of a more finished or polished feel, if you will. Isn't meant as an insult to Buena Vista, but it just has more infrastructure. The hospital, campus, more businesses, more of a complete town feel. And Buena Vista, or BV, is still a bit unfinished, especially around the edges, and maybe even a little more outdoorsy and a little more laid back, even by mountain town standards. They're both amazing places, and they do seem to attract slightly different crowds. Salida feels like a place that you can settle into, in my opinion, like day-to-day life. And BV, there's a lot of long-time and full-time residents, but it feels like a place that you go to play. And that distinction matters more than people might think, because it's not, if you're moving there full-time, you've got to think about how you're going to live every single day. So let's start with the downtown areas, because this is where you will probably feel the difference the most. Salida has a very charming and full downtown, and it's probably one of my favorite downtowns in all of Colorado towns. You've got restaurants and coffee shops, boutiques, art galleries. It is a certified creative district, and this shows because of the amount of things you can go and enjoy artistically. It's very walkable, all connected and jointed in a grid. It's very active. There's always something going on with like live music, art walks. We have First Friday art walks every month, festivals, and even random weekday nights, especially in the summer, still feel kind of like an event. There's a really strong, intentional energy downtown. And people don't just pass through Salida, they're here for something usually. Now, compared to Buena Vista, BV's downtown is smaller. It's basically one strip. There's not side streets that branch out of it like Salida's is. And then there's kind of two parts of it. There's the uptown part, like closer to the Highway 285, and then there's like the down by the river part, and it's broken up a little bit. It's still great, but it just feels more casual and slightly less curated still. You've still got breweries, gear stores, quick food spots, and coffee shops, some art galleries there too, some really fun stores that I love. One of my favorite secondhand stores is in BV, but usually you're not gonna be like going to BV to window shop unless it's for just an hour, because that's about how long it takes to go all the way down and all the way back. You grab what you need and then head on your way. And if your ideal day includes a long stroll, shopping, and being downtown the whole day and running into people you know, or maybe going to sit and listen to music for an evening outdoors by the river, then Salida is going to fit better. But if you're looking for wake up, grab a coffee, go climb, hike, bike, ski, raft, BV might be more aligned, and especially because BV is closer to larger ski areas, like it's much closer to Copper, for example, or any of those Summit County resorts. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about lifestyle. Salida does tend to attract, it seems to attract people who want more of a balance. They want access to the outdoors, but they also really want that strong community connected feel. The restaurants, the regular events, even the schools seem to attract a certain type of folks. It is really day-to-day livable and very routine, if you will. And the community sense is really strong here. Not that it's not in BV. I don't want to offend anybody because I love BV too. You can stay busy right in town in Salida without feeling like you need to go like chase a summit every day. I feel like Buena Vista leans harder into the outdoor lifestyle. You find more people there, in my opinion, who are specifically there for like summiting a mountain, going rafting, mountain biking, skiing. It's like really activity driven. And it, to me, does feel a little younger in some ways, a little more transient and seasonal, not in a bad way, just different. I've wondered if that has to do with the climate and the altitude, because it is higher in altitude by, it's over 8,000 feet. That can be hard on older folks sometimes, and they get more snow. Salida feels like where families go to put roots down or where people come to retire, and BV feels like where people go to like chase their dreams. But if you're someone who wants to feel grounded, Salida might be a better fit. If you're someone that wants to feel very free and able to do whatever there is to do, BV might be a better fit for you. Okay, none of this is set in stone, just my opinion. Don't roast me in the comments. Let's talk housing now, because that is where you might come down to a final decision. And Salida generally comes at a higher price point, though BV has definitely been catching up in the last few years, especially anywhere near downtown or like down by the river in Buena Vista. You're looking for walkability and like a really established and old town feel, that is Salida. I mean, houses from the pre-1900s. BV, on the other hand, tends to be a little more affordable. The gap, again, has narrowed a lot in the past few years. But generally speaking, your dollar can still stretch a little bit further in Buena Vista, especially in certain parts of Buena Vista. You'll find there also newer subdivisions, new construction, but more opportunity for land and large pieces of land and properties that feel a little less buttoned up. They're just a little more wild. And that can be a huge plus if you want flexibility, less HOAs over there. There are some, but just less of them. If you want to build something and you want space and you don't want anyone looking over your shoulder and you don't need everything to be walkable or bikeable, BV would be a good spot. And BV definitely has more rural living too. Salida has it too, but BV and Nathrop, that little area right there, horses, acreage, big mountain views, separation from neighbors, having all the space you need. That's where you want to go. And those areas will definitely give you more of that. So Salida is a little tighter on land. There's less of it. It's more developed. And so that's part of why it often ends up being more expensive. If budget matters and you want that land and space, then BV is going to be what gives you a bit more breathing room in your budget. If proximity and convenience matter more to you and being able to get to all the things you need, Salida often can justify the price that you'll pay. Okay, last, let's talk about convenience, because this is something that people underestimate until they're actually living here. Salida has a lot more services, a lot. They just do. There's more restaurants, more shopping, more healthcare options. Chiropractic, dermatology, dentists, doctors. It feels more self-contained. People come from all the other little towns to Salida for a lot of these services. And you can live here day to day and not really feel like you're missing anything. I mean, maybe major shopping, but who cares? There's always online shopping now. And Buena Vista has what you need, but a lot fewer options. And there are some services not available there. So like BV doesn't have a hospital, they come here. And depending on lifestyle, you might find yourself driving to Salida way more often than you expected. Now, again, it's only 25 minutes, so not that big of a deal until it is. And you are finding yourself like visiting the doctor every week or it's winter and it's dark and the road's really snowy and you've already driven back and forth once that day and you have to go again for some reason. Swim team. BV doesn't have a swim team. It's here in Salida, so those families drive over here. I know that's annoying. It just requires like a little more intentionality about what you're wanting. If you have swimmers, you want to live in Salida. All right, so the community in both towns is totally friendly and welcoming. Salida feels, in my opinion, again, I'm not in BV, so I could be skewed on this. It just feels a little more interconnected with more events on the calendar, more opportunities to plug in and overlap between different social circles. But BV does have some really cool events like community table. They like all eat dinner on the street together one night. That's really cool. But overall, I would say BV feels a little more independent and free-spirited. People are still kind, still welcoming, but less centralized, more spread out, and for whatever reason, less overlap between social circles. You might have to put a little more effort in there to find your people. And I've heard that from multiple sources. That's not just me. Some people are okay with that. And some people just want easy, friends down at the pickleball courts right away. I don't think BV has pickleball courts, but Salida does. And here's another thing that people don't talk enough about long-term: livability. It's easy to fall in love with BV on a weekend because of the adventures that are close, the beauty. It's just a really exciting, beautiful place. But you should ask yourself while you're sitting with that thought, what does a random weeknight look for me here? Or a Saturday morning, even if it's not a powder day or a rafting trip and it's just like my usual day-to-day life. Where would I go to dinner? What space am I going to work out of? Do I need to drive down into town if I want to grab something like to eat with friends for lunch? Or how do I get all my errands done? What does the day-to-day routine feel like? For me personally, Salida tends to hold up really well in that category. Obviously, I live here. And I visit BV almost weekly, and it can feel like that too, but it really does depend more on your lifestyle. So to simplify all of these things we've discussed, if you want a little more quaint downtown charm, I hate to say that because BV really is awesome, but walkability, let's talk about that. A really strong, centric downtown, more convenience and a slightly more established feel than Salida is probably for you. If you want outdoor access and a little more space, a slightly lower price point, and maybe even more adventure, then Buena Vista might be the better fit. And it's going to take some driving around and looking to really get a sense of that. Honestly, most people look at both extensively before they make the decision. And some people just know when they're in one town or the other. I don't know how. Sometimes it's not logical. It's just a gut feeling and where you think you might feel more at home. Another thing people decide a lot based on around here is the church that they go to. BV has certain churches and Salida has certain churches, so you might want to look into that. But this is something I help people with all the time, not just finding a house, but figuring out which town actually fits your life. Because buying in the wrong location, even if the house is perfect, that's where people end up with a little bit of regret. And I don't want that for you. I want to be here to help. I want you to find the right fit right off the bat. Oh, the golf course in BV is awesome. No shade to Salida's golf course. I like it, but BV's golf course is just gorgeous. So if you golf, you might want to think about that. And you can live right on the golf course there too. We can talk through your lifestyle, your priorities, and what actually makes sense for you. And if you have made it to the end of this video of all of my BV versus Salida, here is your piece of real estate advice. Don't just shop for the right house. You have to shop for the location that fits your lifestyle, because that is what you're really buying, is what does life look like every day. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Salida Colorado channel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. I've got a lot more coming about what it's really like to live, buy, and sell in Salida, Buena Vista, and all across Chaffee County and surrounding counties. I will see you next time.